Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Excellency Esports stream as we are continuing on our coverage of the mid-league semifinals matchup between CB Rush and Fever. This time around, game number 2, Gunjin, the teams aren't swapping sides. It's CB Rush still on the blue side, Fever still on the red side as we get ready to up in getting in to game number 2 draft.
Yeah, it feels like CB Rush maybe feel like, again, the draft was okay. If we don't ace ourselves level 5, maybe we have a better chance in game number 2. So I feel like they're just going to stick with the same strategy, kind of go with the same game plan as well. As we see the Tristana and Xayah bans, most likely you're going to see the Thresh ban as well from the side of CBR. As Fever, again, keeping it the same. They won game number 1 pretty handily, especially with the play of Dictator Scruff. I'm excited to see what the adaptations are. Champions I want to see, Mac, I don't know if you have. Diana, she's missing MIA wanted posters. Where is Diana? This champion is smurfing in mid-league a lot and in all of the regions, and we just have not seen it this series. I want to see her. I think she's incredibly strong. When these team fights are so kind of bulked up and everyone's on top of each other, that seems like a perfect Diana game. Why need a Hecarim when you can get a Diana? So I want to see that pick be played out. It is a change from the side of CBR, as we can see the Poppy ban first round instead of the Thresh. So Fever might be able to play a little bit more of a less mobile ADC.
The Irelia locked in first. Blue side pick 1. I guess there's a reason they wanted to take away Stubby's Poppy, but that's going to leave Rice's Thresh open, and we know how well this guy can play on the champion. I think it comes probably close to Dory Case. Not maybe. Just kidding. Rice is insane on this guy. We see it banned so often. We saw it banned in game 1, and we're going to see if he's going to maybe make CBR regret their decision here in game 2 draft.
Yeah, and I feel like the Poppy ban, I should have had my crystal ball out. It kind of predicted the Irelia first pick from the side of CBR. This was a famous Rutledge pick in spring. I know you were always telling me that, because we would always see Rutledge on Ore, and I would be like, is he a carry player? But you were like, no, he can play the Irelia, and the Irelia buffs in 11.13, or the changes, have kind of made her an incredibly strong top laner. She's able to get away with just attack speed and just kind of run you down. After the first 3 levels, she's a lot stronger, so I'm excited to see it. For the side of Fever, though, this Akali is for Dictator Scruff. This is a must-pick champion that he has in a lot of his solo queue games. I'm excited to see him because we've seen him on a lot of control mages, control characters like Corki, but now this is more of a carry-style mid laner. I don't like this bot lane pick from the side of CBR, but I want your thoughts.
It is the Ashe Braum combo, and the Ziggs potentially coming through for Zara would be crazy, because I feel like that's a complete switch up of his usual style. He's going back into the Ezreal instead. Ezreal Thresh gonna be able to, I feel like, just toy with the Braum Ashe, but it is a lot of engage potential, and Braum is one of Nelson's best champions.
Braum is, I was told, this is something that CB Rush always talks about. Nelson actually loves to play Luxes. He's like a very AP support heavy player. But as this is quoting, so this is not me saying, Daddy Rutledge makes him lock in Braum whenever they can. This is something that they're just incredibly comfortable with. They like to build out teams that are kind of heavily melee or attack focused. So the Irelia and Ashe being able to proc the Braum passive incredibly quickly. I like the pick. The Ashe pick, I think, is really suspect. I think that she's not able to do really well, especially against a champ like Akali that's able to be such a big nuisance. I feel like they could have taken maybe Ezreal Braum and just ran back the same bot lane with a little bit of a new twist. Fever is going to take the Ezreal. I don't like it as well because Ezreal Thresh, I feel like if you're going to pick the Thresh, there are champs like Aphelios that have been riding in such high popularity that deal so much damage. Ezreal's kind of fallen out of the way with the Divine Sunder changes. I don't like the Kled. I feel like both of us have kind of been a little bit of PTSD from game number 1, just watching Daddy Rutledge's wild ride. I think that's the tagline for game number 1. But they're gonna lock it in, and CBR, I think they're going for the full Frost comp. Mac Dewey.
Wow, prepping for a cold winter. CB Rush getting ready for game 2. Sejuani for Acid. I'm going to check the stats real quick, Gunjin, to see how often that's popped up for him in the jungle, but not really what we're used to seeing from the first team All-Pro jungler.
Definitely not an acid pick, but if you look at just the team comp wise, and this is actually a comp that this is a personal story. I love to run in my Clash games where my jungler and my support will actually play Braum Sejuani, and we just CC lock the entire world because the amount of CC that Aurelia Sejuani plus Braum and then auto attackers apply is ridiculous. And now you have Gwen, another auto attack AP focused character. I was going to talk about the lack of AP damage, but with Gwen on the map, a lot of melees kind of, this is a full synergistic comp for the side of CB. I'm not saying it's the best comp, but the synergy is all there because all of these champions work incredibly well with each other. Rounding out the comp from the side of Fever, though, we are going to get the Kled topside and the Lilia in the jungle, something we haven't seen since probably Acid last split.
Right? Are we just going back a split? What has Summer become? This is so very interesting. Game 2 of the best of 5 series. Fever doing very well for themselves in game number 1, finding team fight after team fight and avoiding the engage of CB Rush. It just wasn't there all game. This time around, they're going to be going back to this very engage heavy style Gunjin. They've got the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. They've got Sejuani's ultimate as well to try to pick people off. But you got to think, on this Fever team, who are you going to be looking to pick off?
I think for the side of CBR, do you want to really target most likely either that Lilia or the Ezreal? It is hard to get on top of the Ezreal, and Lilia right now, she is still strong. She has been kind of nerfed in terms of the sleep duration and the slow duration, so she is squishy enough to kind of get picked. My fear for the side of Fever, though, is that they're such a melee-focused comp. They don't have much range to play with. So if they can't land the CC onto the Ezreals, they can't kind of CC lock down the Akali, it's going to be hard for CBR to play out because, again, Ezreal's going to be poking you out. Lilia's going to be just chucking her Dream Dust at you all the time. And then Fever can look to kind of counter-engage whenever they want with that Kled ultimate. So it's going to be kind of that push and pull dance between CBR and Fever, and it's all about who can land the CC first and who can avoid the CC the best.
We got Debay stuck in our mind. Not the performance we wanted to see in game number 1 from the CB Rush ADC, hoping to bring it back and try to even up this series 1-1 with the surprise Ashe pick. If you're on the side of Fever, Gunjin, how many cleanses are you running into the ice cold Freyord comp?
I actually think you don't run any. I think that Ezreal is just safe enough, especially with the Thresh Lantern. I don't think Akali can run it just because she wants to have that kill potential early on. I don't expect Kled to run it. I've actually seen some Kleds even run TP Ignite just so they can get more lane dominance. And it is a matchup that I know for a long time was a Kled favored matchup versus Aurelia, as he would just be kind of able to stick on top of her, run her down whenever she escapes, and kind of just break the chain that is Aurelia's combos. I don't know how the matchup goes now due to the Aurelia changes. We haven't had enough kind of play on this patch to see how the top lane matchups have shaken out. What I can know, though, Aurelia, incredibly strong. Gwen, a 2021 champion. And you have a full Frost comp to back up these two melee range auto attackers with CC. So it's going to be hard for Fever to really execute if they fall behind, because if you fall behind versus CC, it's even doubly effective.
Double effective. Better be purchasing those Merc Treads up. Scruff in game number 5 of the Bucky series. Gunjin did get his hands on the Akali, and boy, oh boy, did he do some absolute work. 12, 5, and 14 performance. Absolutely demolishing Jesus in the mid lane of close to 5,000 gold lead at the end of the game. Going to be looking to try to back up that performance on one of his signature champions in game 2 here for the semifinals. Gunjin, what direction are you leaning for these two teams? Because, I mean, Fever, so strong in game number 1, and CB Rush really kind of struggled, I think, to find their footing.
I think CB Rush struggled just due to kind of being a little bit too cocky, because I know they love to team fight because they feel like they're the best team fighting team in the league, and statistics and just the eye test have shown that. The problem is when they're kind of falling far behind, sometimes they don't respect the item or the level lead that the enemy team has, and they can get caught out. I do want to mention it is going to be Frosty piloting the Aurelia in the mid lane with Rutledge on the Gwen in the top side. Something that I was kind of mistaken about. That was one of the things I want to mention. The range on the side of CBR is pretty short. They have a pretty long engage range with Sejuani, but in terms of just the effective range they team fight with or skirmish with, it's pretty short. So it's going to be things I want to really watch is going to be Evil Zara. Again, he had an incredibly great game number 1, and in this game, he is completely set up to be that poke, and really take over these games, because there's a lot of kind of melee, I don't even know what the word I'm going for here. I'm going to go with melee frontliners that are just looking for an engage. Thresh and Ezreal can kind of dissuade that, and Zara has so much space to just poke them down. If he can get good poke off of these team fights, he can really make it easy for Stubby and Dictator Scruff. And for the side of CB Rush, I want to see how this bot lane plays out, because we haven't seen DeBay and Nelson really pilot this comp before. We have seen it in a couple of games, but it's been more kind of, let's just let DeBay and Nelson scale, and that's something that it feels like Fever's not going to let them do. We saw your Mad Q kind of early game pressure that bot lane, and if he kind of goes to the same style and with Stubby kind of roaming and making those TP plays, that bot lane can get attacked and really get exploited.
And let's also see if Rutledge and Acid are going to find that next level gear that the top jungle duo is known to have. Is CB Rush going to be able to even up this series here in game 2, or is Fever going to take a commanding lead against the number 1 seed CB Rush? Ladies and gentlemen, don't click that browser. The teams are ready and loading onto the Rift. Gunjan and Mac gonna be right back in just a bit. Hello, Summoners. Welcome on to the Rift for game number 2 of the Mid-League Semifinals matchup between the number 1 seeded CB Rush and the 4th seeded Fever. They stormed out to a hot win, Gunjan, in game number 1, and Fever is looking to get onto an early match point. Or do you think it's going to be CB Rush evening up the series as the early topside jungle invade doesn't go half bad this time?
I think CB Rush will equalize this out. I like their comp, but I like also the adaptation. You can see right there, Acid got caught out in game number 1 due to really good prep by Fever. So they now send the 5-stack. They say, we're going to get that ward on your red buff, and you will make sure that we know where your jungler starts. I like the adaptation from both teams. I'm excited to see what ends up happening as we kind of have just overall runes and kind of masteries. Zara did end up taking the cleanse, opted for it with just the CC that is on the side of CBR. We do see the phase rush on Lilia. Lilia has been kind of out of the meta for such a long time that it seems weird to me, but it is something that I'm excited to see how your Mad Q can pilot out. It's going to be interesting because, again, if he doesn't have I would expect every single member on Fever said, hey guys, remember to take Legend Tenacity this game, just due to the amount of CC. So it's one of those things where if you don't have the yellow tree in this page, then you're kind of griefing just due to the amount of lockdown. But again, standard lanes, both junglers pathing towards that top side, similar to game number 1.
Yep, and Acid has probably a hunch that your Mad Q is starting on the bot side of the map, as well as your Mad Q, I think, probably going to be able to recognize that Acid starting up on the bot side of the map as well, potentially going to see a fight around the Scuttle Crabs, but already Acid pathing so aggressively, going straight to the blue buff of his own jungle to potentially make his way over to that top side jungle of your Mad Cute very early on, much like we saw him do in game 1, but last time around, your Mad Cute was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, this definitely signals some sort of early level 3 play, as the standard jungle pathing right now for junglers is basically just to clear every single camp possible and then take a reset. But Sejuani looking for the play in the enemy Lilia jungle, and he does have priority both in the top and mid, so he will have support in this invade.
Acid a level even actually with your Mad Cute, but he's going to surprise him in the bush. Knockup coming through, stun flash from Acid, and the first team all-pro jungler is going to be picking up first blood.
Mac, did you say Sejuani can't be played aggressively? You said that he couldn't pilot it just as aggressive as the rest of his champions. A beautiful invade from Acid. What a play. What a play from overall the entire members of CBR. Just knowing that Acid's going to go for this play, so we need to press up. There was no way that Lily could get help from any of her solo laners, anybody on the map, and so she gets caught out, blows the flash, loses her red buff. This is a massive advantage for the side of CBR, as they should be topside scuttle as well.
Your Mad Cute going to be able to pick up boots on his way back to base and not going to get double scuttled this time around. Frosty, got to be wary of that turret. Has Stubby in the top lane, missing Scar a little bit. This is the CB Rush, Gunjin, that we have certainly grown accustomed to.
Yeah, CB Rush, what we know about them, they love early game skirmishing, and they're amazing at team fighting, and they're doing their early game skirmishing already, and so they're going to transition incredibly well into those team fighting stages. Lilia is going to be able to get the invade off onto those Raptor camps. She is looking for a play around mid, and Dictator Scruff does have the wave set up for this.
Frosty's playing towards this bottom side. He's going to try to run away from Scruff. Doesn't want the ninja. Can't handle the Akali. This is going to be Rutledge teleporting in. It looks like it's going to be a wasted summoner's spell as Scruff is able to back off.
Yeah, they went for the play onto the Akali, but I would have liked to see Acid just kind of force the play onto the Lilia, knowing that she doesn't have the flash. Maybe a little bit of a misplay, but Dictator Scruff's playing really aggressively.
Look at Acid finding opportunities to get in damage through the Shroud, through the defenses. Scruff, though, going to be just fine picking up some CS under turret. And importantly, Gunjin, that's going to be Frosty safely recalling.
Frosty's going to be able to get the wave pushed out, gets the assistance from this jungler. And you can see Acid, again, he's going for the solo kill.
And he's got to be careful, though. Twilight Shroud coming out. Teleport burned Frosty. Someone, Gunjin, who you look to make cross-map plays. That's going to be another CB teleport getting used for the solo lanes only.
Yeah, all of the CB teleports have been used. But again, the bot lane with this Ashe Braum bot lane, with Zara having to opt for the cleanse, opting for the tier start as well, there's not enough kind of pressure down bot, so their bot lane's kind of able to play pretty safe, so they feels like they don't need to use the TP to kind of assist cross map, so it feels like they can just kind of use TPs to either make plays around that mid side or just TP back to lane. A little bit more of a lane focused early game from the side of CBR, and it's interesting to see because this is a style that we usually kind of reserve for the side of Fevers, the side of No Fear Wolves, and for the side of Death Cards Academy.
And once again, Gunjin, I kind of want to point out here, early back from the Fever bot lane, they get reset in on the map, I think, a little bit before DeBay and Nelson are able to. But you're Mad Cute on the Lilia on the opposite side of the jungle. They can't look to try to pick up that early dragon. But instead, Gunjin, we got a little bit of a freeze going on in favor of Evil Zara, who's trying to slow down the Fragord squad.
Yeah, I'm surprised that DeBay and Nelson ended up just taking that back, as this wave is just going to freeze under their tower. This will cause Acid to kind of path down bot, have to contest, but with the dragon spawning, with kind of the play all around the map for the side of Fever as well, it's kind of one of those things where even though this is a resource being used that CBR has to kind of break the freeze, it's not going to cost them much as dragon is spawning, so kind of the attention of the map is already on that bot side. So both junglers, Lilia could get caught here though.
Ooh. CB Rush have to be careful. It is teleport advantage for Stubby in the top lane, but Rutledge right now trying to shove in that lane, trying to give his team some room to work with to pick up this first objective. And you want to know what, Gunjin? I think it's going to pay off.
Yeah, they're going to be able to pick it up because Frosty's just able to push in mid so incredibly hard. Dictator Scruff can't move at all, and they get the dragon just due to the strength of the mid and the bot side. And this is one of those situations where it feels like 3 winning lanes and a strong jungler. CBR are off to a really strong early game lead.
They don't quite have the early game gold lead to show for it yet, though. Fever trying to stick with it. And we got to maybe ask ourselves the question, Gunjin, if this game goes late, who are you favoring?
I personally favor the CBR comp just due to kind of the how synergistic it is with each other. Just having Gwen be that 2021 late game carries, that champion becomes such an incredible nuisance. And again, play against a champion like the Ezreal, he can't hit you at all. So it's going to be all on to Dictator, Scruff, and Stubby to kind of beat down this Gwen as we see a mid lane fight.
Scruff is looking to try to get out. Acid going to miss the ultimate. Ooh. Scruff under turret. Acid's got to be careful in a dash out. Scruff going to be just fine from the Acid gank.
And it feels like they're just using a lot of their resources to make sure that Frosty is getting a really good matchup. This mid-side Dictator Scruff's not been allowed to kind of play around the map at all. And they're using this pressure mid to kind of invade into the jungle. I love the way that CBR are playing because there's no punishment on the bot side. It's an Ezreal Thresh. They can't punish out Ash Braum. So it's just all of that resource that gets used in the top side is just free resource for the side of CB Rush.
Acid trying to play a little bit of catch-up, I feel like, against the Lilia pick. Your Mad Cute has been farming around the jungle very nicely, but that's 2 red buffs in a row lost to the Sejuani. Acid now making his way towards the Rift Herald, knowing he's got top lane already shoved in.
Yeah, he has top lane shoved in, and it's beautiful pathing from the side of Acid. Again, your Mad Q does have the CS advantage, but a lot of those camps that Acid has are the big camps from the side of your Mad Q. The double red buff steal, the Krug steal as well. So again, great play by Acid, just utilizing the strength of his laners, the priority that both of his laners have to just get advantages across the map. It's not a game that's kind of as explosive as game number 1, where Fever go out to that 3K gold lead at 8 minutes in, but it's one of those slow controlled games where it feels like it's just slowly this thing goes in the way of Fever, or for the side of CBR, this goes for the side of CBR. And if everything goes for the side of CBR, there's some place where Fever are going to be like, we have to break the game. And if it comes to even team fighting, I'll take CBR all the time.
CBR, known last split, you had Rutledge, you had Acid, you had Frosty, always coming through. Let's charge. Scarl don't care about your ultimate, Acid. He's gonna be charging out of that gank. The Sejuani, though, Acid still does have Rift Herald available to drop it down here, Gunjin.
And it looks like he's just going to opt to push in the wave, drop the Rift Herald, get some plate gold for the side of this Gwen. And again, on the side of Fever, they get 2 camps on the end of... They're not even drop Rift Herald. I'm surprised Acid makes that play. I don't know if Stubby is looking for the freeze. No, he's not. He's just going to let the wave crash in. Something to note, Stubby is going for a tank-Kled build here. There is a lot of melees and a lot of physical damage on the side of CB Rush. So opting for that tank build, interesting to see. It has been something that we've seen in Season 11. A little bit less popular than it used to be in the early parts of the season.
Yep, exactly. Fever not wanting to start a fight until potentially this next dragon. Some solid vision control, though, before the excitement gets started, Gunjin, as CB Rush have been playing their game throughout the start of Game 2 here. The Game 1 jitters out of here. CB Rush are ready to play.
They do spot Lilia on this ward, and this is something that I really like about CB Rush. They've been able to kind of keep track of your Mad Cute this entire game. He's not been able to get really any ganks off. Again, he has a farm lead, but it's only 1 camp in general. And so, again, Acid has been getting unsuccessful ganks, but at least he's able to get something off. Some pressure, some cooldown is being wasted. But your Mad Cute's been running around trying to get something done, but nothing coming up 12 minutes into the game.
And look at how Scruff is able to just dance around Frosty, but it's the Vanguard's edge. It's the Glacial Prison coming in. Scruffy is taken down. Fever not going to be able to respond.
And that was a beautiful CC chain from the side of Acid. Lands the Sejuani ultimate before the Akali Smoke Shroud can even go down. Great kill for the side of CB Rush as they're able to put the Rift Herald mid. Frosty actually back, so he's not going to be able to get any gold. Just gold on both the supports and junglers.
And look at Debay already at the objective, waiting for the rest of the team. Scruff does have teleport available, Gunjin, as does Frosty, but the mid laners are just walking back into their lanes. The objective going to be given over. CB Rush this time around, getting out to an early 2-0 Dragon lead.
And it feels like Fate is... Oh!
Engage coming in. You're mad cute, gonna be able to smite and fight to survive. He's able to get out. Stubby looking for the re-engage. Lilton Lullaby available. CB Rush is caught out. There's Debay flashing right into the Scruff. He's flying into the back line. He drops the shroud. He gets stunned up. Acid is asleep at the wheel. He gets taken down. Actually, it's Rutledge caught out. Dictator Scruff, he's got one. Frosty stuck in the middle of everyone. That's not where you want to be. Fever pick up 3 kills onto CB Rush.
What a fight for the side of Fever, and CB Rush again just go a little bit too deep. You've gotten the dragon, you have a stranglehold hold on this game, but they want to go for the fight immediately. There was a lot of gold sitting on a lot of members. The bot lane had not back, but the bot lane for the side of Fever had already bought their items, and again, CB Rush just play a little bit too aggressively, a little bit too far forward, get punished, and it feels like Fever finally have done something in this game because it felt like they were just getting choked out minute after minute.
What a potential game-changing fight here, Gunjin. Fever are right back in this game. Let's take another look at that jungle fight.
You can see they get a beautiful Ashe ulti onto the Lilia, and the Thresh Lantern does go out, but the ward that they end up placing, Lilia is still able to click the Lantern, gets out of there, and you can see the immediate TB from Stubby, the turn from the Lilia, the sleep, the wilting lullaby, and they're just too deep in. There's no cooldowns on the side of Aurelia. Rutledge tries to come in, but there's no damage on Debay because he hasn't bought items, Mac. They're sitting on 3,000 gold worth of items that is just in the pockets of Ashe and Braum. It is a complete misplay from the side of CBR. They over-engage their engage potential and their damage, and they get punished heavily from the side of Fever.
Going back to live, Scruff does not get to move. Sniped from downtown by Debay. That's gonna be Scruff taken down in a turret picked up by CB Rush. First one of the game.
My favorite part about that play, Mac, is Dictator Scruff spam pinging Aurelia ult, Sejuani ult, Ashe ult, and being like, guys, what do you want me to do? And again, great play from CBR. They respond to a bad play with a great play because, again, Dictator Scruff is not being allowed to play the game. Even though he's still dealing immense damage in these team fights, they're kind of shutting down and kind of putting a blanket on the Sakali as long as possible. The game is going well for the side of CBR, but they are misplays, and especially this bot lane. Zara is being able to get some good consistent damage down bot, even if it is pretty minimal.
Fever positioning around the second Rift Herald of the game. Frosty, by the way, completed Wit's End. A lot of magic damage on the side of Fever. He's opting in for what he knows is going to work. But Rutledge, he's caught in the trap, able to walk away, though. You're mad cute. Lilton Lullaby available. Wanting to say goodnight, my sweet prince. No worries at all. But it's Rift Herald on the menu for these chefs.
Yeah, full vision control for the side of Fever. It feels like CB Rush are a little bit late to the play. Surprising, because CB Rush are usually the team that kind of established that full vision control. They do have some of their CC cooldowns down at the moment. Acid doesn't have Sejuani ult. No ulti for the side of Frosty either, but they're going to look to contest.
Your mad cute does get the smite coming in. Lilton Lullaby onto 2 members. True shot barrage through everyone, but look at Frosty. He has got the damage. The CC coming in from Acid and Nelson. Dictator Scruff trying to turn this one around. Can he find the perfect execution? No, but Stubby's back in the fight. Stubby trying to dish out the damage. Rutledge trying to snip him away. Stubby taken down by Acid. The Shuriken barely misses, and it's a 3-for-1 for CB Rush.
That fight was on a razor's edge. So many members on the side of CB Rush were pretty much in Akali's range to be executed, but not... Oh, no.
Look at this, Scruff. Is this going to be easy?
What?
Is he going to be able to pull this one out? Acid so low, teleport coming in. Everyone's going to be able to walk away from this one. Frosty trying to dash in, but the Shuriken flip out of town. Scruff's going to be just fine.
I was hoping that Nelson just kind of boxed the Akali out, but what a team fight from the side of CB Rush, and we are going to have a replay of it for you right quick. And the start of this fight, the big cooldown to watch is no Sejuani ult, so they try to force the play out. And your Mad Q gets the steal onto the Rift Herald, but he has to walk back in, get the eye, and gets incredibly caught. And a beautiful Braum ulti by Nelson to kind of just choke this fight completely apart.
Nelson is in his comfort zone, in his groove on the Braum pick. Rift Herald gonna be summoned up, but CB Rush with the perfect response. Not worried about this one at all. Shelly is very disappointed, unable to find the engage. That's going to be the arrow completely missing from DeBay. An important ultimate used. Acid and Rutledge, their ultimates coming off cooldown as we speak. Gunjin teleport from Stubby coming in to fight over the dragon. Nelson is going to take the hook. Here comes the engage. CB Rush going to try to find everyone. Dictator Scruff, he's in the back line. Zara's found though. Zara's taken down. Look at Frosty. He's popping up. He's got a double kill. Can he make it a triple kill? Yes! He's popping off by the dragon. Gunjin and CB Rush are taking the steering wheel here in game 2.
CB Rush with their team fight tactics, team comp, just ace. Sorry, not ace, but absolutely wipe Fever in that chokehold. Again, it looked like Rice got a beautiful hook onto the side of Acid, not being able to get the engage off, but they immediately forced it onto Stubby. And in those massive choke points, this wombo combo CC locking, damage dealing comp from the side of CB Rush just absolutely wipes. And this pressure that CB Rush gave to Frosty early on, this shutting down Dictator Scruff, making sure that Frosty had the largest gold lead in the game, the largest bank account in the game, pays off with a massive triple kill on this Aurelia.
And I want to point out here, Gunjin, 4 Merc Treads picked up on the side of CB Rush, and only 1 for Rice every meal. Fever are getting slowed down by all of the Freljord goodness here in game 2, and you're exactly right, Gunjin, that glacial bonus, not playing a literal part here, but CB Rush looking up to form here in game 2.
And to break down that dragon fight a little bit more, we have a replay. As you can see, again, the start of that fight, we do have some on that live feed, but watch this replay right here. I believe this is the replay for the Rift Herald fight. It doesn't matter because I'll paint a picture for you. Again, beautiful engages by the side of Acid, a lot of melee engages, and you can see the bonus that we're seeing from this TFT comp. The amount of CC that Braum and Sejuani are able to apply because of the melee threats on the side of CBR is really effective, and something that you called out, again, the lack of Merc Treads is really harming them because Stubby got locked down, Your Mad Cute's getting locked down, and Dictator Scruff is not even being allowed to play.
Now, 3 minutes to the potential Cloud Soul for CB Rush. They know how good it feels to be on the other side of this now. They know how bad it is for Fever, staring down a 3,000 gold deficit as we cross the 21-minute mark. They do have a little bit of scaling in the Ezreal and the Akali, but it is a massive front line. Acid 3-1-6 on the Sejuani. Nelson 007 through the first little bit in CB Rush, notably playing like the #1 seed here in game 2.
Yes, the CB Rush dominance is here as we see a play on the top side. Again, the lockdown, the CC. Rutledge is on top. The CC chain. He can't move. He's not allowed to play. Mac, they use everything. Stubby goes down. What a catch on the top side, but it looks like Fever is going to try to respond, but no dice. What a fight. I'm hyping it up, but again, these are the plays that you need because it's getting the gold onto key members like Rutledge and like Frosty, as we saw in the early game, and it allows them to kind of take over when the side lanes get a little bit more expanded like we see in the bot side.
And look at even just DeBay knocking on the door in the mid lane, able to do a decent chunk on that mid lane inner turret. Fever, while doing a much better job in the turret department here in game 2, we'll have to see if Scruff is going to be the hero Fever needs. Frosty just so darn strong, I feel like, on this Irelia. He has a big item lead, and he misses the E, yet he's still able to go in. Rutledge wary of the potential 1v2 in the top lane, going to be able to play it safe as CB Rush starts to prep for the Cloud Soul.
And you can see Frosty misses the stun, but Dictator Scruff knows that something is up because Nelson was right in his back pocket to try to look and CC down Dictator Scruff if he ever tried to get anything done. And again, they have control over the spot side. They have a Irelia that can't be matched by any member on the side of Fever. You have assets that's so supremely tanky. This next team fight is going to be incredibly hard, and it's going to be that soul point. It's going to be that kind of fight that, again, Fever don't have to take. It is really good on the side of CBR as you're going to have these melee frontline divers have that bonus movement speed, able to kind of run through the backline, but it's not something that's do or die. It's something that you don't have to throw your body over because, again, the big thing I want to watch is Dictator Scruff's second item, and it's going to be Zara on this close, but no cigar. It's going to be Zara on this Cyrilda's Grudge. Being able to kind of cut through that tank is going to be really important, but until he picks up those items, I don't think Fever have a chance in this team fight.
CB Rush controlling the river. Stubby and Rutledge both on the top side with teleport available. Scruff just trying to clear the wave in the bot lane as a Swirl Seed is not going to connect. Fever not looking to contest the Soul Dragon, as that's going to be the fourth and final dragon secured for CB Rush. Gunjin, they've got the Cloud Soul.
They have the Cloud Soul, and if you hated seeing those Ashe ultis fly and just lock down Dictator Scruff, don't look at the screen because they're going to be flying so much more, and you're going to have these melee divers be able to just run into the backline. As they move on, they have the Cloud Soul, and now they're going to just try to get full control over this top side. That's going to be really important because Fever's comp does not have wave clear at all. If this Baron goes down to the side of CBR, it's going to be at least one, maybe two inhibitors taken for the side of CB Rush.
And Gunjin, looking at this Fever composition, you do have Zara on 2 items. Stubby, excuse me, has got to be feeling pretty good about how tanky he is at this point in the game. What do they need to do to find success in this next fight?
For the side of Fever, I would say what you need to do to find success in the next team fight, it's going to be up to your Mad Q to really get a good leaping lullaby. I believe that's her ultimate. And it's going to be up to Dictator Scruff to find a flank where he can try to assassinate DeBay as quick as possible. Again, DeBay is not kind of key in terms of damage to the side of CB Rush, but you need to be able to find one of these squishy members and then try to kind of attack back to front and really get some damage out, because again, these frontline divers are so hard for a quality kill because, again, you have Gwen that is just 2021, and then you have Frosty who has Shield Bow, Wits, and Merc Treads. Good luck ever killing him in a straight fight. So it's going to be up to Dictator Scruff to try and kill somebody that he can that he can kind of get to, and then hope that his team has enough damage to deal with the frontline divers. For the side of CB Rush, though, I think you just try to establish full vision control over Baron and just force them to fight you, because if you take Baron, you win the game.
Look at the engage coming through. Rice every meal picked up and sniped. It's Mad Cute. He's taken down. Stubby is the next to fall. That's 3 quick kills picked up for CB Rush as they are finding their groove.
They pick up the fight, they pick up the tower, they're going to pick up the Baron, and you should not have made CB Rush mad, because now they are clicking on all cylinders. What a game from the side of CB Rush as they look to take the Baron at 27 minutes. The only chance of a steal is Evil Zara on this Ezreal ulti. Maybe he has the crystal ball, maybe I've given him the hidden tech, but most likely this is going to be Baron to the side of CB Rush, and it's going to be full map and full game control for CB Rush.
They have close to an 8,000 gold lead here at the 27-minute mark. Baron recalls coming in, and they can play out the Baron buff perfectly to pressure the base with Elder Dragon spawning in 3 minutes, right around the time Baron buff falls off.
And while CB Rush does go on their shopping spree, we will have a replay of that last team fight on that top lane dive. And as you can see, how the fight starts is just Rice getting caught out, as he's getting caught out on the live feed as well.
DeBay finding the auto attacks. That's going to be another pick. CB Rush engaging at will. Stubby, though, looking for a flank. Dictator Scruff looking to get into the fight, but the tanky front line, CB Rush are unbreakable as they're opening up the Fever base.
They're going to be opening up the Fever base, and there's just no wave clear on the side of Fever. You have a Kali Q as the best wave clear you got. You have Ezreal ulti as well, but that's not enough, and they're going to go for the dive.
Frosty, a perfect engage to start this one off. Dictator Scruff going to have to hold on to dear life in the Twilight Shroud. Frosty's got 2 kills. He's going to be able to flash out, not going to sleep just yet. He's looking a little drowsy. Rutledge gets taken down under the Nexus turrets. Frosty able to wake up from the bad dream, gets right back to business, gets the middle inhibitor, and CB Rush are going to take their foot off the gas pedal for now.
Frosty wakes up from the bad dream, but Evil Zara is just stuck in it. He gets dove basically right next to his fountain, and there's just nothing you can do. You can see the power of this new Aurelia, the amount of kind of auto attack amp damage she has in her kit right now, with her passive fully stacked, with the Wit's End dealing 69 magic damage. Nice. Per auto attack, she's just cleaving every single member on the side of Fever. This is bot lane inhibitor. This is Ashe ulti goes completely. Oh, no, it doesn't.
Rice every meal finds the hook onto DeBay, who has to try to flash away, but he's going to get taken down. Evil Zara picking up the kill. Elder Dragon spawning in just about 50 seconds. CB Rush need to try to reset.
CB Rush need to try to reset, and that's a massive kill. Again, it shouldn't be too much because a lot of that gold is centered on Rutledge and Frosty, but this is a big kind of death timer for the side of Fever, because if they can set up, if they can get good positioning, they can try and kind of turn this game on the Elder. But it felt like, I don't even understand how DeBay got into that position. It felt like maybe he took a reverse lantern where you take the enemy's lantern into the enemy team, because DeBay was just completely caught out, gets killed, and good hold by the side of Fever. But again, 10,000 gold down. Cloud Soul is down. You can't clear waves. You have to make this do or die fight as Elder Dragon, because if you don't, then you're just going to go out with a whimper.
So much vision for Fever in their own jungle, but they don't have eyes on the objective. Scruff gonna try to get a recall off and then teleport into the fight. Nelson just try to get a lay for the land. Here is the potential final fight coming through in game 2.
Double Zanias on your Madden Dictator. We don't have Zara with Cyrildas, but they're just burning down the drag.
Here's the engage coming, and Dictator Scruff immediately has to try to Zonia's away. Lilting Lullaby not gonna stop CB Rush, though it's on to 4 members. Frosty is dominating. There's a double kill for Rutledge. Scruff, nothing he can do. Rice every meal taken down, and CB Rush find the ace.
You shouldn't have made them mad, Mac. You bet against them. I said it was a 3-0, but they said, you know what? We'll take the game number 1 off as we come back in game number 2. A dominating performance from every single member. They won lane, they won mid game, they won game, they had full control. It felt like Fever had one team fight where they had some semblance of any sort of hope, but it got cut down completely short by Rutledge and Frosty, and in 31 minutes, 28 seconds, CB Rush take game number 2 versus Fever in this best of 5, and they tie it up 1-1.
We've got ourselves a series, ladies and gentlemen. Buckle up for another exciting night of mid-league playoff action. CB Rush making their mark in the series 1-1 now. Will the teams decide to switch sides? We're going to have to find out in just a little bit. Here in game number 2, Gunjin, who stood out to you most?
I think the play that really stood out to me most was Acid. In game number 1, it felt like his effectiveness was kind of spotty. But in game number 2, he took a back seat. He kind of used that role because you saw him a lot of times. He was just sitting in bushes covering his laners.
Yeah.
He was there to make those plays that aren't going to show in the box sheet. They're not going to show up in the kills, assists, or in the deaths, because all he was doing there was making sure his laners were able to kind of succeed. And after that, when his laners got priority, he got every single objective, and he just really turned the game for them, because after that level 3 invade and solo kill onto Your Mad Q, it felt like he just couldn't get anything else done. And even though he was ahead in CS, he was always behind in tempo.
And word from the other stream, No Fear Wolves taking game 2. Gunjin, both semifinals matchups are tied 1-1. Back to the block 3 setup a little bit. It's at least a best of 3 now for both teams, who are going to find the 2 wins they need to move on to finals. It is one heck of a good night for mid-league action. Don't click out of that browser. Gunjin and Matt going to be back in just a bit for Game 3 draft. We'll see you then.